43-year-old Olympia Laster is behind bars after she intentionally burned her 46-year-old boyfriend with grease. At 5:17 p.m. on Tuesday the 6th of May, authorities responded to the Stay Lodge Motel at 1610 Whitesville Road in LaGrange, Georgia on reports of a domestic dispute. Inside, officers determined that during the argument, the live-in girlfriend of the victim poured a pot of hot chicken grease on his upper body while he sat in a chair near the kitchen. It's unclear what the dispute was about. The victim suffered severe burns to his head, neck, back and shoulders, and he was transported to a burn centre where he is recovering. Authorities arrested Olympia and charged her with aggravated battery. She remains held at the Troup County Jail without bond. The investigation into the matter continues. A man accused of hitting his neighbours with his car in Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, killing one of them, has died in the Dane County Jail. At 5:57 a.m. on Tuesday the 6th of May, deputies found 49-year-old Jeffrey Endres unresponsive in his cell less than 24 hours after his initial court appearance. They, along with jail medical staff and paramedics, tried to save him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. Jeffrey had been charged with first-degree intentional homicide in the death of 41-year-old Dr. Cami Hansen. Cottage Grove police said that Cami died after being hit by a car on the 28th of April when she was on an evening walk on a street with her husband and one of her sons. Jeffrey was also charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide against Cami's husband and son. He was charged with mistreatment of an animal causing death for the death of the Hansen's pit bull dog in the crash. Authorities said that Jeffrey hit the family with his car hours after reading a police report about an alleged crime that Hansen's son committed against his child. Jeffrey admitted to being the driver of the car and told police he was having suicidal thoughts. Records show that the Hansen family and Endres family are neighbours. Court documents said that the families were close until the alleged crime happened in March. Police found videos on Hansen's son's phone that victimised Endres' child. Jeffrey was being held at the Dane County Jail on a $1 million bond at the time of his death. 30-year-old Justin Stacy is behind bars for the murder and dismemberment of 75-year-old Robert Francis, who he was supposed to take care of. The murder took place in February, but on the 5th of May, Justin's brother Brian Stacy reported the killing to police. The two brothers were living at Robert's home near the intersection of State Road 100 and Course Road in Whitingham, Vermont at the time of the incident. Brian told police that on the morning of the 10th of February, he heard Justin having some kind of altercation and came downstairs to find his brother attacking Robert. He said he left the house, and when he came back hours later, his brother told him he had killed the older man. Brian also told police he saw Robert's dismembered body in the basement and his brother burning the man's remains in an outdoor fire pit. Authorities then determined that Robert had been killed at his home and took Justin into custody. While questioned, Justin told police that Robert hurt himself while attacking him and then asked Jason to let him die because of the pain he suffered from medical conditions. Justin gave investigators several different explanations for Robert's death, changing the story more than once. Justin told police that he met Robert several years ago and that the two had a grandfather and grandson relationship. Robert owned the home where they lived, and Justin took care of Robert as he had limited mobility and used an electric wheelchair. Justin was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and giving false information to a police officer. He remains held at the Windham County Jail without bond. Justin was previously charged with simple assault in 2022 after he threw a cell phone at Robert and injured him. He gave police varying stories about that incident as well. The investigation into the matter continues. 68-year-old Timothy Morgan is behind bars for killing his wife, 67-year-old Catherine Morgan. At 4:31 a.m. on Sunday the 4th of May, authorities responded to a residence in the 18,400 block of Conley Street in Detroit, Michigan, on reports of domestic violence. When officers arrived, they entered the premises and found blood spatter throughout, and Catherine unresponsive in the living room with multiple stab wounds to the back of her head. Medics pronounced her dead at the scene. Police said that Timothy stabbed his wife several times with a plastic sword before fatally striking her in the head with a pair of pliers. Timothy turned himself into the 11th precinct of the Detroit Police Department a short time later and told the officers that he killed a demon pretending to be his wife. Timothy is charged with first-degree murder and he remains held at the Wayne County Jail without bond. The motive of the killing is unclear as the investigation into the matter continues. A Tallahassee, Florida woman will spend the rest of her days behind bars for fatally beating her girlfriend's 3-year-old son with a tire iron. On Tuesday the 6th of May 2025, 28-year-old Pliers Jefferson pleaded no contest to first-degree murder and aggravated abuse in the 2020 death of a girlfriend's toddler son Miguel. A judge sentenced her to life in prison for the murder charge and 30 years in prison for the child abuse charge. At around 7 p.m. on the 19th of October 2020, Pliers took the child to an emergency room at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. The boy was unresponsive and cold to touch, with severe trauma to his face and head. Doctors pronounced him dead within minutes of arrival. Hospital staff then quickly called the Tallahassee Police Department. Pliers told investigators that she lived with a girlfriend, Miguel, and his 6-year-old sister, and claimed the boy was standing on the sink brushing his teeth when he fell and hit the toilet, causing the porcelain to shatter. Investigators noted at least 6 deep lacerations on his head and face, along with a nearly severed finger, and determined the injuries were not consistent with a fall as Pliers had claimed. They also noted Miguel had injuries throughout his body in various stages of healing. Pliers told detectives that she had watched Miguel all day while his mother was at work and his sibling at school. The sibling came home from school at around 3:15 p.m. Some 20 minutes later, she told Miguel to brush his teeth. She went into the bathroom and saw he was standing at the sink, and she told him to get down and momentarily left the bathroom. She said that is when he fell and hit the toilet, and that the lacerations were caused by the shattered toilet. Detectives then confronted her about her timeline. Had she brought Miguel to the hospital immediately after he suffered his injuries, she would have arrived at around 4 p.m. and not 7 p.m. Investigators also told her the boy's injuries were not consistent with a fall, and that's when Pliers admitted to hitting him with a tire iron. She said that she became angry when the boy refused to climb down from the sink. She then grabbed a tire iron from a toolkit and threw it at him, hitting him in the side of the face. It also hit the toilet, causing it to shatter, and she hit the boy a total of 3 or 4 times. She said she recalled seeing blood spray from Miguel's wounds as he struck him. Pliers also admitted that the boy was likely deceased when she took him to the hospital. Police arrested Pliers and she's been imprisoned ever since. Prosecutors have been seeking the death penalty before a plea agreement was consented to by the child's parents to reduce the punishment to life in prison. Authorities determined that Miguel and his sister were subjected to prior abuse. The Department of Children and Families took custody of the sibling. A substitute teacher in Marin County, Florida is behind bars following allegations of inappropriate behavior with a student. On Wednesday the 7th of May, 24-year-old Dianely Torres was taken into custody after an investigation revealed troubling communications and interactions with a minor. Authorities began the investigation on the 21st of February when a school resource officer was alerted by an assistant principal at Horizon Academy about the behavior which was reported by a student. The student claimed to have seen Dianely massaging another student's head during class. The incident prompted further inquiry into Dianely's interactions with students. Witnesses reported that several students, including the victim, were in regular contact with Dianely through a messaging platform Discord. Authorities said that it was revealed that Dianely had previously been disciplined for inappropriately messaging with students in December. Despite warnings, she continued to communicate with students, including the victim. As investigation progressed, law enforcement obtained consent to search the victim's computer and cell phone. A digital forensic technician conducted an extraction of the victim's phone, revealing deleted messages that indicated inappropriate exchanges between Dianely and the victim. The messages included discussions about explicit content and requests for the victim to delete inappropriate exchanges. On Wednesday the 7th of May, deputies located Dianely and conducted a post-Miranda interview. During questioning, she admitted to being in a dating relationship with the victim, acknowledging that he was a former student. Dianely reportedly confessed to sending nude photos of herself to the victim and receiving explicit images in return. She also admitted to exchanging in sexual acts with the victim on multiple occasions. Dianely was charged with possession of child sexual abuse material and transmission of material harmful to minors. She was booked into the Marin County Jail where she remains pending further investigation. A Las Vegas woman will spend the rest of her life behind bars for torturing and killing a young boy she was watching over while his mother was at a shelter. On Wednesday the 7th of May 2025, Clark County District Court Judge Michelle Levitt sentenced 48-year-old Crystal Stevens to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the killing of 4-year-old Brandon Steckler Jr. in 2018. In February, Crystal accepted a plea deal on charges of first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping resulting in substantial bodily harm and child abuse, which allowed her to avoid facing the death penalty. On the 30th of July 2018, authorities responded to a call about a possible child drowning at an apartment in the 300 block of East Silverado Ranch Boulevard in Las Vegas, Nevada, but when they arrived, they didn't find any evidence of drowning. Medics transported the 4-year-old boy to hospital, where he died the next day. The Chief Deputy District Attorney said at the time that Brandon's autopsy took 8 hours due to the horrific injuries to the child. Brandon, who was autistic, was malnourished and had wounds all over his body, including fractured ribs, rat bites, burns, cuts and rectal trauma. He also had meth in his system, sepsis and pneumonia. Authorities later discovered drug residue and paraphernalia in Crystal's home, and she was arrested. Crystal had been caring for Brandon and his sister while their mother was in a domestic violence shelter. A couple of weeks later, she killed him. Child Protective Services reportedly received several calls about Brandon's condition, but they only conducted one investigation and could not substantiate the claims. During sentencing, Crystal told Judge Levitt that she took full responsibility for her actions and was committed to maintaining her mental health and sobriety. "I'm terribly sorry for my horrific actions," she said. Crystal addressed Brandon's family, stating, "I assure you, I take full responsibility for the loss of someone so precious to you. I dedicate my life to your family and making that my priority," she said. 45-year-old Jason Middleton is behind bars after he allegedly rammed a woman's car, threatened to rape her, kill her and a baby, and then tried to kidnap her. Authorities said that on the 28th of April, Jason ran into the back of the woman's vehicle while she was stopped at an intersection near US 52 and County Road 100 West in Hancock County, Indiana. Jason and the woman got out of their cars, and the suspect reportedly tried to blame the victim for the crash, even though it was apparently his fault. He swore and shouted at her, "What did I do?" And she replied, "You hit me twice, and I have a baby in the car," she said. The woman went back to her car and called police to report the crash and gather her insurance information. Dispatchers told her officers were headed there, and to call back if the other driver left the scene. Jason then reportedly pulled out a gun and threatened to rape her and shoot her and her baby if she didn't get into his van. She began to fight with him over the gun, and he put his hand on the back of her neck and told her to shut up. A witness saw Jason and the woman grappling. The victim yelled, "My baby," when other motorists had stopped and came to the woman's aid. Jason took off in the van, but the victim had written down his license plate before their confrontation. Police spotted the vehicle shortly thereafter in a nearby county and found him hiding in a storage container. A gun was not located when Jason was arrested, and he claimed it was a woman who pulled out the gun on him, and he fled the scene fearing she was going to shoot him. Jason's charged with attempted rape, attempted armed kidnapping and criminal confinement with a deadly weapon. He remains held at the Mulligan County Jail on a $500,000 bond. His next court date is scheduled for the 21st of May. The investigation into the matter continues. 43-year-old Jennifer Mulligan is behind bars for fatally shooting her 90-year-old father. At 11:11 a.m. on Wednesday the 7th of May, authorities responded to a residence at 509 Rodney Lane in Virginia Beach, Virginia, after Jennifer called dispatch and told them that she'd shot her dad. When officers arrived at the scene, they found 90-year-old Woodard McClure unresponsive in the garage with a gunshot wound to his head. Despite efforts to save him, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Jennifer was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and use of a firearm in commission of a felony. She remains held at the Virginia Beach Correctional Center without bond. Neighbors said that Jennifer lived with her father who was in hospice care, and that she found it increasingly difficult to care for him.